morning, everyone. So good to see everybody with your whole face. It's really exciting. Thank you, Bobby. He didn't mention that when we were there that day, they actually did some explosions and blowing things up, which was, I think, a highlight for anyone who was on that trip. So that was really fun. I've had people, including legislators, say, that day we went there and blew things up was so great. So that was really fun. This is always such a fun breakfast, celebrating what we all, the love we all have for the work we do. I'm really excited about today's panel because they're members who love their jobs, and it really shines through in the amazing work they do, and it's a really varied panel, so this is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, there's obviously a million reasons I love this job, but I'm going to boil it down to two, and that's Lisa and Marion. Lisa infuses this creativity into my extremely non-creative world that I would be so lost without her. She's smart and gracious, compassionate and lovely. She always knows the right thing to do, the right thing to say, but every once in a while, very rarely, she throws out a well-timed cuss word. And then I know she's living in my world too. So that's really what I love about Lisa. I love many things about Lisa. And Marion, knows everything about everything and everyone. She's always one step ahead. She's so reliable, so dedicated, but so fun, so caring. And she doesn't eat dark chocolate, which means I get all of the dark chocolates out of her candy boxes. So that's we're got a yin and a yang thing going there. So the program, I'm so excited. Let's get going. First on the list is Lucy Kohler of Sweet Lucy's Bake Shop, which is just such a great place up in Bernardston. Lucy?
Hi, guys. So I own Sweet Lucy's Bake Shop in Bernardston. I opened in October of 2018. I was born on the Cape, but grew up in Bernardston. And when I turned 18 and graduated high school, I couldn't get further away from this place. I ran as far as I could go, as far as Europe and Hawaii, and was gone forever, never coming back, ever. I had 2 kids, and the draw of Western Mass really brought me back, and we moved from Seattle to Bernardston with my husband, who's from Chicago, and it was the best decision I've ever made in my entire life. And one of the reasons why is so I could open my own bakery. I never grew up thinking that I wanted to own my own place, but I knew I wanted to find a job that I could just have for the rest of my life and enjoy. And it was always baking. So I started baking with my dad when I was in 8th grade. He was not a professional baker, but he had a big farm or a big garden and grew bread made bread, whatever. As soon as I was, something in 8th grade, just one day I was loading the dishwasher and I thought to myself, I want to work in the restaurant industry, something about putting silverware away. So I went off to culinary school and I've just been completely obsessed with my career. And I think there's probably 4 reasons why I love it so much. And I think the first one is the people. There's, we call it the land of the misfit toys, cooks, bakers. We're all just unique people. Servers typically are musicians or artists or actors. And I think we all just really blend together. And in addition to the people that I work with, there's all of my customers. I get to see people every day and chat with people. I'm a pretty social person, and I don't think I could ever sit at a desk. And that leads into the other part is that I love keeping myself busy all the time. So baking, there's always something to be done. You can never be bored. So it helps my ADHD and like that personality. I think that although I have horrible gardening skills, I really love it. And I find myself really drawn to farmers, and I like being able to grow your own food. And since I can't do it myself, this job has helped create a connection between the land and the farmers. And I also love traveling. So no matter where I go, I'll always have a job. I can wash dishes anywhere. So it's taken me all over the world. And I've been able to get into kitchens or take classes in some places, which has been really awesome. And then, of course, the creative part of baking. So the instant gratification, making food, feeding people. My husband does all the cooking at home, so I don't have to do that, which is amazing, because I do it all day. But if I had a choice, like that's what I would be doing. And the pandemic has really shattered the restaurant industry, and I feel really lucky that I was able to be in a position that I could actually use my skills to step in and feed people. And I think most of the kitchen people, food world, that's what we wanted to do. We're just like, what can we do? We just want to feed people. And so it was another aspect of my job that never saw coming, but was able to really enjoy it. And I'm a baker at heart. Like, I don't like cutting onions, but anything I could do to help people's lives easier, it meant I had to cut onions. And now I cut onions almost every day for doing our savory meals at our bakery. So yeah, that's why I love my job. I'm pretty obsessed with it. And then the very last part of it is I love teaching. And especially as a chef, but even just when I was just a cook, looking at your fellow coworker or your employee and teaching them how to do things, which stems into a new position or a new part of my job that's going to be coming hopefully in the next year, is we're going to be really starting up a cooking school in our building. So keep your eyes open for that. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. I just want to let people know that Lucy probably has the best auto reply email. It says, your email is important to me, but I'm up to my elbows in dough right now. I love it. So most of the people in this room are very community-minded, and Kirsten Levitt just absolutely blows us all out of the water with the work that she does. So I'm very proud to introduce Kirsten from Stone Soup Cafe.
Hi guys, I'm Kirsten Levitt. I'm from Stone Soup Cafe, and everybody says my name wrong, and it's all right. If you don't, it doesn't matter what you call me, honestly. It is my extreme delight to be here today, and I have thought about 16 different ways to start what I want to say to you. So the first thing I want to say to you is, it is my honor to be a part of this beloved community. When I was a young person, I worked doing accounting, bookkeeping, and such like that. And very soon, well, almost 15 years into it, I realized that I was in the wrong field, because I wasn't making a difference in the world, and service meant everything to me. And so I went back to school as a single parent, and I became a school teacher. And that was great. I loved teaching. It was fantastic. But pretty soon, an opportunity opened itself to me, and that was the opportunity to meet Bernie Glassman and to hear about his cafe that he was running that served meals with love and dignity and ended the stigma of having need around food, or at least that was their purpose. And so very soon, I was teaching school full-time, on the board of the church, singing in the choir, and volunteering at Stone Soup Cafe. And I very quickly realized that service was my life. And so when the opportunity presented itself to become a founding board member of the cafe, once upon a time called the Let All Eat, now the Stone Soup, I jumped at it. And I have founder syndrome. I'm here to tell you. I am in it to win it. In October of 2019, I retired from a 20-year teaching career to take on Stone Soup Cafe just in time for a pandemic. Perfect timing. Honestly, perfect timing. Because I was 100% available to respond to the need that happened in our community, and not just in Greenfield, but all over Franklin County. When the pandemic hit, we pivoted on a dime. We never missed a beat, and we started doing a delivery model and a curbside model. And 4 weeks later, our guests started saying, wait, you used to have extra groceries? And we created an emergency food pantry, unfunded, unbudgeted, and thanks to the city of Greenfield, now funded and budgeted. Thank you so much, Roxanne. I love my job because every single week I plan a party. No kidding, if you haven't seen our menus, please go check them out. Every single week is a celebration from somewhere in the world, someone's religious holiday, someone's tradition, someone's birthday. Like our friend Louise, who's been standing at the sink for 9.5 years, whose birthday was just on Tuesday. This week's meal is hers because we really, really, really embrace our community and our people. And that's another reason why I love my job, because the people are amazing. The capacity for giving in every sector of our community is embodied in the Stone Soup Cafe. We are blessed and lucky to have more than 400 volunteers. Our delivery drivers are 100% volunteer. Nobody's asking for a reimbursement. They're asking, how many more houses can I go to? And in the middle of pandemic, when they deliver their meals, they happen to know the people that they're delivering to, and they check on them. It's kind of like an unofficial well visit, which is great because isolation is real. Isolation's real especially for senior adults here in the Valley, even without a pandemic. And with a pandemic, it became even more burdensome. But I love my job because we figure out ways in which to solve small problems or large with community power. I've always said that every ingredient counts, especially you. And that means all of us. There's no us and them, there's just us. And every single one of our ingredients, whatever it is important to our community. And the cafe is super proud to be part of the community. Our mission is to create a community space where people from all walks of life come together to share nourishment, learning, and connection for body, mind, and spirit. And we've certainly been challenged in the pandemic to make that happen. But I love my job because we're scrappy puzzlers. Like, we will solve a problem, whether it's an individual volunteer walking up and saying, hey, did you know there's a bunch of Spanish speakers who don't get to practice? Hey, let's have Spanish hour. To, we need to have a conversation with our community at Curbside about Black Lives Matter and why we are anti-racist and social justice organization. Or people need to see beauty, so let's put art out. We don't just feed your body, we feed your mind and your spirit. And I love my job because we care about every single person, including ourselves. There have been lots of challenges. Right now, after 2 years of a pandemic, we're still serving between 450 and 500 meals every single week. The need is great. And although we have a pay what you can model, which means that we're inviting everybody to the table, literally and figuratively, we know that the vast majority of the people that we are serving live at or below the poverty line and have need. So I love my job because I get to provide relief. I cook with love from scratch every single day. I love my job because it's not a charity. It's people helping people. We are definitely a mutual aid society. And as an organization, we promote that all the time. How can you work with us to be a better us? All of us. So I love my job because we're changing lives, one meal at a time. And that doesn't mean that it's because you ate the meal. You might have prepped that meal. You might have cooked that meal. You might have sponsored that meal. But we change somebody's life because when you enter into service, which is the body's response to wanting to do good and sharing, it actually makes you feel better. Endorphins fly. You are committing to yourself and to others that we are in us. just want to tell you one more exciting thing about why I love my job. Every single day I get to face a challenge. We grew out of our space. It doesn't matter that we grew out of our space because we're looking at expanding into a different kind of space. And that's a whole nother presentation, so I'm only going to tease you with that. I'm here to tell you that we took a Hail Mary in November, and the newest challenge that we're facing is we are ramping up and instituting a culinary arts pilot program that will start in May. Thanks to the state of Massachusetts and its Community Empowerment and Reinvestment Grant, the first cohort is 100% funded. And we're doing what my dream was, which was to teach people how to cook their own food, how to be employed, and how to be able to have agency. So guys, every ingredient counts, especially you. And that's why I love my job. Thanks so much.
Totally amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. So next we have Danny Letourneau, Chief of Staff for the Mayor of Greenfield. Welcome, Danny.
Hello, I'm Danny Letourneau, Chief of Staff to the Mayor of Greenfield, to talk about why I love my job. So actually, sometimes I don't. Government work can be frustrating, slow, and unforgiving. And people can be ungracious sometimes. But the things that I do love about my job actually also involve people. Throughout my work days, I get to talk to a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life and from a lot of different backgrounds. And nearly all of them are there looking for help, looking to try and make a change in their own lives, a little fix to make things easier. So I try to make the changes to help them. I find information for them. We'll look at policies and ordinances, try to rearrange all of the words that maybe no longer serve people today, and then rewrite them in an order that makes more sense for what we're doing these days. Small changes can make a big difference. In my work, I also have the role of supporting the city's employees. I am the chief of staff, after all. And those people, the city's employees, these are the folks who have decided to do work to serve the public. So I do strive to foster a safe, happy, and productive workplace, and I do not succeed at this every single day. No 2 days are exactly the same. Rarely does a day go exactly the way I think it was going to go. This is for better or for worse. On March 13th, 2020, exactly 70 days after Mayor Roxanne Wiedegartner was sworn into office, she declared a state of emergency that would last 15 months, and the entire world shut down all around us. But it actually wasn't the entire world that stopped. Those people deemed essential, including many government workers, those coworkers I talked about, my amazing coworkers. That was a Friday. They got up and they all came to work in person on Monday, and we all said, "What do we do?" Luckily, I was surrounded by people who said, "This is what we do." We reached out to other towns, we worked with the county, we harassed the state, we collected PPE, masks, we set up a hotline, we distributed materials, we facilitated actual financial aid to humans. We arranged a drive-through testing site with logistics that would make a discussion on the sandwich board ordinance seem quaint. All the while, we still had to continue the business of running the city, collecting trash, running ambulances, running police cars and fire trucks, and fixing potholes. We did stop giving parking tickets, though, for a little while. When vaccines came onto the scene, people thought maybe we should wait and see what the feds or the state folks or the medical community would do to get those out. And we said, no, we can do it. We vaccinated first responders and then seniors. When it came time to phase in the rest of the people, remember the phases? It was apparent that we would need over 200 volunteers to make this happen. I remember that day, the emergency command meeting, and I was thinking about my background in nonprofit work and community organizing and volunteer organizing. And I said, 200 volunteers, I can do that. And we did. We did it over and over and over. We ran 51 clinic days, and over 17,000 vaccine doses were administered into the arms of neighbors, parents, teachers, workers, family members, probably a bunch of you guys. A bunch of you guys came and volunteered. So to paraphrase a quote from a famous American patriot and leader that I really admire, we made the impossible possible. We did. So I guess government work is more personal and gratifying than we think. It is about people. And that is why I love my job. And why I would rather have been here for the last 2 years than really anywhere else. And also why I'd rather be there right now at this moment. That's it.
Thank you so much, Danny. I've worked in government for a long time myself, and you really nailed it. So I am really pleased to introduce Nicole Thorell from the Institute for Wild Med. And I just want to say that she taught Mary and Lisa and I how to do CPR. So that was actually a really fun activity we did together. So come on up.
It is such an honor to be next to you all, for real. I am not gonna lie, I had no inner sense of how emotional I would feel hearing you all talk about your work. This is a very surprising feeling that I'm having come up right now. As I was thinking about what I would say, it just felt like a very sort of light and easy and just light way to be together and talk about what we love to do. And wow, it's deep and real and emotional. And so thank you for setting that tone. I appreciate that. And so I don't have a lot of I's, a lot of what I love. For me, I thought about just sharing a couple stories. So right now, there are 2 boys who go to Deerfield Academy who are probably still asleep because they get to go to school late today because they are going to go over to Eagle Brook, across 5 and 10, right across the street, right over there in your neck of the woods, yep. They're going to go across 5 and 10. They're going to go up to Eagle Brook, which is where they went. They went to Eagle Brook. And these are 2 boys who were out practicing together, and one of them went into cardiac arrest. And the other kid saved his life. And they were interviewed on national news, and they were asked, where did you learn CPR? You're in like 9th grade. Where did you learn that? Eagle Brook hired me to come and teach all of their kids CPR 4 years ago, and 3 years ago, and 2 years ago, and tomorrow. And so these kids get to come and tell their story for their fellows at Eagle Brook because all these kids, almost 300 of them, tomorrow are going to go through my course. How amazing. This is freaking amazing. I have you just don't know. You have no idea when you're working with people what the ripples and echoes will be of your work. I had no idea. No clue. And I'm so grateful that was brought to my attention. I think perhaps even other miracles happen that I don't even get to hear about. So that's one that comes to my mind. And then in my inbox, actually it was my LinkedIn, I got a LinkedIn message about 3 weeks ago, and it was a picture of a woman, maybe about my age, with an elderly gentleman. I'm like, oh, I don't know these people. This must be a mistake. Maybe this is a phishing situation. I don't know what this is. And it was just a picture. And I was not going to respond to it, because then you get caught up in it all. But a moment later, another message came in and said, I was the first on scene at a car accident, and this gentleman went into cardiac arrest while he was driving and had a car accident. I was the first person there, and I took your class 2 years ago, and I knew exactly what to do. I secured the scene, I called 911, got him out of the car, no response, no breathing. I initiated CPR. He was conscious by the time the ambulance got there. Like, so awesome! It's totally amazing. And then this other woman told me this story. I taught a class at Hartsburg for some new parents, which is always an experience to teach brand new parents, because often they're really quite anxious, and so it's as much counseling as it is teaching CPR and first aid. And she shared with me how her child gets hives all over their chest and neck when they get cold. And she had been telling her doctor about it, and her doctor was like, oh, it's nothing. You just bring her in, bring her inside, it's no big deal, it's fine. And she's like, I'm really, really concerned about it. And I was able to validate for her that, believe it or not, you can go into anaphylactic shock from the cold. We all think of bees and peanuts and latex and, tree nuts and other things like that, but you can. And I validated that gut instinct for her. And she said to her doctor, I need EpiPens. I need a prescription for EpiPens. The doctor rolled their eyes and was like, all right, I'll give you the prescription. But yeah, I don't think you're ever going to need to use them. She called me about 6 months later, and this child went into full anaphylactic shock out in the cold, hives, swollen eyes, swollen lips, swollen tongue, swollen airway, wheezing, unable to breathe. The dad administered the EpiPen, and she regained her ability to breathe, and it was just this harrowing story for these new parents inside of their first year with their child. It's such a vivid memory of the child was in a wagon when it all happened, and he saved his daughter's life. So awesome. And then there's one more that I have that I'm really excited about right now. My car today is filled to the gills with first aid supplies. Because I've actually had 3 families call me, but one family, and I'm supporting them all, but one in particular was really compelling. It was a Greenfield Center School family, and the class of kids is very upset about the war that is going on in Ukraine, and just don't know how to be with those feelings. And like you said, service and doing really is the way to cope and to thrive in these times. And so we put together a plan to make a filling station. So I'm leaving here, and we're going to make a buffet filling station of hemostatic agents, trauma pads, burn gels, burn dressings, tourniquets. We've got it all lined up, and the kids are going to take their empty kits and fill everything as they go along. And my kids helped me last night. My kids helped me fill all these bulk boxes of these items, and I could really, really feel that the service and action and doing, really, it's amazing. It's really important, and having a sense of purpose is, I think, so critical for all humans. And so especially in these times, if we can have a sense of purpose, it's really what it takes right now. So I'm so grateful to be able to coordinate such things. I'm so lucky. And a lot of it people, it wasn't my idea, it was other people. So I'm so grateful to be in a position that people will come to and ask for support and share their ideas, and we can make it happen. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. And thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. And yeah, thanks to all my partners in Franklin County, all these different places where I teach at Hitchcock Brewing. Yep. Yeah, great. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. That was great. We actually did our CPR training during COVID. So we did part of it over Zoom, but Nicole dropped off these CPR dummies, and I positioned them around.
Mannequin.
Oh, excuse me. That's, I stand corrected. CPR mannequins. But I positioned them around the conference table in my office because it had been so long since I'd had anyone in those chairs, and it felt kind of nice. It did. So next, I'm so excited to have Joy Ratzlef Sullivan here from the beautiful clothing store Enjoy up in Shelburne Falls. So Joy, come tell us what you love about your job. Can you go here?
No, I have to make sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Joy, and I own the store Enjoy in Shelburne Falls. It's on Deerfield Avenue off of Bridge Street. And I just want to say thank you, Diana. Thank you, Chamber, for inviting me to speak today about why I love my job. And I own a clothing store, and yay, I get to go after all, because I'm not saving lives. But I love the tone you set, and when making my notes last night and thinking about what I wanted to talk about, the first thing that came to mind was relationships. Why do I love my job? And that's just what came to my mind is relationships, because in any of our jobs, I think, and that's been a touch of what everyone has said, is that we experience and build relationships with the people that we work with, the people that we work for. And to me, that's one of the biggest joys of my job is the relationships I have with my customers, the women that work with me, the vendors I work with. I sell clothing. I love clothes. I love that. I love jewelry and things. And I work with other people that also enjoy and love those things. And I have been doing this my whole life. My first job was when I was 16. I grew up in Northern California, and I had a job in my junior year of high school of doing all the merchandising for our local JCPenney downtown store. And I loved it. I would go after school, and I would change the windows and do displays on the mannequins and do all that stuff. And I never really thought it was a real job, because here I am 17, this is what I do. They let me do the windows, and okay. And I never thought about it being something I'd actually do as a career. And so I thought, well, anyways, fast forward through all of that, I always ended up getting jobs wherever I moved in retail, because it just ended up being a place I felt comfortable, a place that I love people I'm with. I felt like I was just in my element and doing things and creating relationships with people that meant something. Before I opened the store Enjoy, I worked for a store in Amherst for 20 years, and I wore a lot of different hats there. And I think as a small business owner, worker, you wear a lot of hats. And I was very honored to be able to do that and learn more about what I love to do, and with the merchandising, working with customers, doing the buying. And once I started doing the buying, I started learning more about where clothing comes from, where jewelry comes from, who makes it, all that stuff. And that was an eye-opener for me, because I never really thought about it. We learn about it with this slow food movement, and who's growing the food, who's making it, how is it being processed, who's getting paid, working conditions. Well, the same things happen in clothing, the clothing industry, and anything that we consume. And that really I started learning more about that world when I was going to trade shows and things like that. And I found that really fascinating. And when I opened my store Enjoy, it was really important to me that I work with people that care about what they're putting out, care about who their employees are, how they're treated, how they're getting paid, do they work in safe environments. And it could be locally, it could be globally. So I made a commitment to work with vendors that enjoy what they do and want to make a better world for the people they employ, and also the consumption of the goods that they produce, sustainability, things like that. So and I meet the most amazing people out there. I just have come off a few trade shows. I've been in Atlanta and I've been in Las Vegas, where I meet people who their passion is to make clothing, and they have cottage industries where they employ families overseas, that they work in their home, and the whole family makes these things and sends it to them, and they go out and visit and stay with them in their homes. And I just get to hear a lot of really cool stories that a lot of people don't get to hear, and that happens in the clothing and industry. So for me, it's about the stories too, and I love that I'm here, and I got to hear these stories. I get to hear stories all day long from people that come in, because the gender I mainly work with is women, because I sell women's clothing. And I hear stories from them all the time. And clothing is a very personal thing for women. So I hear a lot of very personal stories. And I also appreciate that, because I appreciate that women can feel comfortable talking to me about what they want to wear, if it's an occasion, or how they want to look, and is this okay, is that okay, and sort of breaking some barriers of like, it's, well, and getting to what is it that you want, and what can, anyways, okay, I'm rambling now and not making sense, and I'm really nervous, but I love stories, and I should go to my notes because now I'm getting lost, but I love my job, I love what I do, I'm grateful for it, and I also want to say a big thank you to chambers, places like this, and also all those long acronym names of services that have helped me out through the pandemic to stay in business. I am so grateful for the services that are out there and for this community. Community is a huge thing that was on my list that I didn't say. I love community. I came from a small farming town in California. I was raised by farmers. And I think this place has always felt like home, because it felt like home to me from where I grew up. And I'm honored to work in Shelburne Falls. I have one of the best views in town. And we just rearranged the store last week, and we actually, because I decided, we're covering the windows too much, and we have one of the best views in towns, and that can't happen. So we moved our desk and said everyone that comes in here has to be able to look at that beautiful view of the river, because that's what this is about, because that's where we live. And I love my job, and thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Oh, thank you. And we appreciate you. Joy is on our gift card, and Joy is on our gift card, which is really great. And we also appreciate what an anchor and a draw you are for Shelburne Falls. So that's really great. Last but certainly not least, we're going to have Bobby come back up and talk about why he loves his job.
Thank you, Diana. I echo Joy's comments as I sat here. I'm like, I have to get up and follow all of these people. This is not good. We pave roads. We blow things up, as Diana said. I really just can't compete with a lot of that. With that being said, I also want to reflect back. Diana was talking about what she loves about her job, and the two people. And so when I showed up here today, and Marion greeted me at the door. And she said to me, she goes, I have a question for you. She said, I've heard you called Bobby. Diana calls you Bob sometimes. You're registered as Robert. Which is it? I have name tags for all three of them. and so I always hear, Diana and I, know each other outside of the chamber as well. And I always hear her talk about, Marion and Lisa. So, it's 100% right in that. So I had to tell that funny story about, when I showed up here today, though. That being said, I was thinking through of how to try and make this a little unique, and everyone's talked about some phenomenal things, and we hear the resounding themes, the people, the intrinsic rewards, and all of those type things, and I certainly echo all of those. So last night I was thinking through different, how can I do this differently, and I got this crazy idea because it seems like that's what we do, and I texted a coworker and I said, well, what if I decided I'm just going to remix Toby Keith's I Love This Bar and turn it into I Love My Job? And the immediate response that came back, and Jim's shaking his head, Jim, by the way, she wanted you to record it and put it on TikTok. Jim was our local TikTok expert. And the problem was, as she started sending the screenshots of the lyrics, and I started looking through them, I went, I don't need to change too many of these words, so I'm just going to back away from that one. Sorry, Jim, he was ready to go. That being said, when I started at Allstates 9 years ago, it was the number one thing when I got there was the number of people who had worked there for 20, 30, 40 years. And to me, that was a message right up front. It's yes, it checks all the boxes. It's obviously they're doing something right. And there's all of these great things that are keeping these people there. And it comes back to, beyond all of those, it's the experiential. It's what are those unique things? What makes you tick? What makes you wake up in the morning when you have those days that are not good? Because we all have them. And what do you remember and what do you recall? So I started thinking through some of those and some of the things. And so as a kid, and as a boy growing up, we love playing out in the dirt with Tonka toys. Well, I get to be around giant Tonka toys every single day, right? And in the biggest sand pit and dirt pit you're ever going to find. So that's kind of cool. And then, how many people have had their parents at some point in time say, hey, why don't you go play out in traffic? Well, we go out and play in traffic. And also, for anyone who's a fan of the game Frogger, it's not fun when you're the frog. Simple as that. Other things, who would have thought I would have been able to take a remote-controlled toy and fly it down Interstate 91 at 40 miles an hour? I get to do that with a drone, and that's pretty cool. So it's these experientials. It's the places. It's the things that you don't think of. Being down in Newport, Rhode Island, and flying that drone on a road that's 8 miles and goes by Newport Country Club and goes over Jay Leno's mansion. It truly is a mansion. Being up in the northernmost point of US 1, Route 1, at Fort Kent, Maine, it's a long ways there. 800 miles in one day is a long drive. But it's pretty cool when you're standing there on the other side of the bridge as Canada and you're working at the very beginning of it. It's all of those type things. And getting back to the people. So it's when you're in the office and the afternoon's starting to drag on and you go to that not so secret candy drawer to get that afternoon sugar rush. Or when your coworker walks by and gets you onto a TikTok binge. Thanks, Jim. Or when it's Halloween and you're at home because you've had surgery and you're kind of in that, not really feeling it, and you get a picture in the morning of 4 of your coworkers dressed up as giant traffic cones. So you find a ride to the office because you're the marketing person and you can't miss this photo op. So they put the costumes back on, pile into the cone truck, and take pictures with the real cones. Those type things that really make you want to come back, that make the day go by, that keep the days light. We all have great days. We all have days that are not so great. But it's about that intrinsic reward. It's about the people that we share those experiences with. So I'll leave on, it's Friday morning. It's 8:56. For anyone that listens to the Bobby Bones Show, we've got 4 minutes till the Friday morning dance party, which every Friday morning in the office we have to turn on. And I'm very thankful for my colleague who sits next to me that shares that same joy and same experience of we have to listen to that every morning on Friday. So with that, thank you everyone again. Thank you to the Chamber. Thank you, Diana. And have a great rest of the day and a great weekend.
Who else wants to see the dance moves? What an amazing panel. Thank you, everyone. You all bring something so unique, and that's why we picked you, because you're all from such different places, but there's so many similarities, right? So before we wrap up this morning, I have an announcement to make that is both difficult and exciting for me. I will be leaving my position here at the Chamber at the end of June. As you all know, I have thoroughly enjoyed my 3.5 years with this organization, and I can tell you that the decision to leave was not made lightly. It has truly been a pleasure to work with my chamber members, my outstanding board of directors, and my 2 dear friends, Marion and Lisa. But a really unexpected opportunity has come my way. Beginning on July 5th, I will become the president of the Springfield Regional Chamber of Commerce. A position that will allow me to continue and expand my work with a tri-county perspective to connect our regions around economic development, workforce development, legislative advocacy, and business support. So while I'll be heading a bit south, I promise you that I will continue to cherish the friendships and business relationships that I have cultivated here in Franklin County. I have appreciated you all so very much, and I will take my love of Franklin County with me. And the timing of having this at another, I love my job breakfast was, and I need a hug right now because that was really tough to do. I will really miss all of you, and I thank you all so much, truly, from my heart.